Okay, sorry. And then, so if you want to go ahead and make sure you guys are muted until you want to speak. Uh, the meeting's being recorded to assist in creating the minutes so that we can share them at the upcoming quarterly DEAC meeting. Our public meeting laws are, for the most part, are going to be observed. There will be a chance for everyone to throw out their ideas and discuss on the table today. Typically, we use Robert's Rules of Order, but at this time, I'm going to go ahead and suspend those because we do want to have an open dialogue in this meeting. Please be respectful of alternative views that are from your own. And just a reminder that only DEAC committee members can ask for a motion and vote. However, if we have any non-DEAC members out there, you are more than free to recommend, and that could end up turning into a motion by the DEAC members. So those of you that are not members of the DEAC that are here with us, please feel free to join in on the conversation and share your ideas and wisdom with us. The purpose of the meeting at the May DEAC meeting, we requested special meetings to discuss issues and propose a direction for the DEAC to identify the needs and challenges of the program and organize and prioritize efforts of the DEAC as it provides recommendations to the DEAC. And then to keep minutes and recommendations will be reported back to the whole DEAC at the November 21st meeting. This meeting will also provide information and an opportunity to provide essential information or feedback during the discussion. I think a lot of us understand what the serious ramifications of the things that have been going on with funding, and we expect to talk quite a bit about that, and Carl will speak about the numbers and the results of the surveys that went out, and then also the data discussed will be discussed that was gotten from the quarterly and annual reports that you guys have all the LEA coordinators all provided to DPI. Carl, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and kick the meeting to you. I know that we want to have the DEAC members announce themselves. Carl, I'll go ahead and defer to you on how you'd like that to happen.
Okay, just for the, thank you, Devin, and just for the, to be as quick as possible through this, I'm going to make a note of all the DEAC members on here. I see the list here. I'm going to go down through this. Mr. Bobby Dixon with the Division of Non-Public Education. I see Ebony Baker with North Carolina PTA. Marsha Kelly, Department of Insurance. And I thought I saw Kella Hatcher. Are there any other DEAC members on the line?
You got Kevin Harrison as well.
Kevin Harrison. Here's Kevin.
Sherry Vernelson.
Sherry, how are you this morning?
And Justin Owens from UNC HSRC.
Justin Owens. Dr. Owens, how are you doing?
I am great this morning. Thanks. How about y'all?
Good. Any others? Okay. Thank you very much. As Kevin stated, as Devin stated, Kevin and Devin, as Devin stated, we want to kind of identify, prioritize, and organize our concerns impacting the traffic safety education program. And we're going to begin that today, and we'll decide after this if we need to have some additional meetings, and we can report back to the committee, the main committee. 2 weeks ago, we sent out a survey to our districts to help this along here, and we had 63 respondents from the districts to respond. They represented 111 districts. There were in-house programs, and there are districts with service provider partners, formerly referred to as contractors. But there are 64 total contracting districts, and then there's 51 in-house districts. 48 of the in-house districts responded, 63 of the 64 districts with service providers reported in that. Go the right way. In the participation surveys that we do annually, we had 155,000 total eligible kids that were eligible to take driver education. However, we'll get to the number we actually serve here in just a second. Those students represent students from the PSUs, the charter schools, private schools, home schools, and federal school students. We served a number just shy of 100,000 students. As you see there, 98,329. You will find some mistakes on the PowerPoint as I was trying to get this done real quick, but there's 2 commas there. 98,000 of them were in the classroom, about 90,000 were in behind the wheel. Those statistics are from 114 districts. There's 115 districts. We had 1 district who has not submitted their information from last year yet. And just kind of a sidebar here is that the quarterly report portal has not been available. It will be available hopefully by the middle of next week, so you can start loading in your data for this year. Now, I want to explain something to you about this average bar here at the bottom. Nationally, it's kind of an unofficial statistic that about 70 to 80% of kids enroll in driver education. And ironically, that's about what our state has served this year. So we're going to call that the bar, just for the purposes of this particular conversation today.
Excuse me.
An interesting note about when you collect this data is that when you've got 155,000 total kids, we serve 98,000. But when you consider a student being a behind the wheel student and classroom student, we served almost 190,000 students when you combine those, because the districts have to teach that student 2 different phases. So as we move forward here, one of the most alarming statistics that I pulled from the survey is this. I want you to think of this kind of upside down for a moment. I want to show you I'm showing you the number of districts that are not serving 70% of their kids. And if you go back to 2021, which was the year of COVID, 2020, 2021, about 23 districts were below the bar of 70%. And then in 21, 22, that remained about the same. In 2021, the number of districts serving below the bar behind the wheel was obviously more because we couldn't get in the car for most of the year. And the same thing for 21, 22. The first part of the year was impacted by it, which drove that statistic up. In 22, 23, that number increased significantly, the number of students, a number of districts that were not serving 70% of their kids. And then you'll see in last year, 23, 24, that number has increased again. My concern is, if this continues in this direction, is that the majority or all of our districts will soon not be serving 70% of their kids. What will happen once our backlogs increase to to the point where we cannot sustain the program. Now, if we want to identify some of the problems that we have, also in the survey was revealed that we currently have 1,161 teachers. We have 56 districts with full staff. That's less than, well, just about half. There are 18 districts that need 1 to 5 teachers. That's 52 teachers totally. There were 42 districts needing teachers within 2 years, amounting to 76 teachers. There is only one viable or teacher certification program that's available to all districts. There are 5 districts, excuse me, there are 5 commercial schools that are serving as service provider partners that can train their own students. Those are those 5 districts are about 55 districts, which means that half of our districts must use DMV as the only source of training their teachers. So Devin, this is where the conversation starts. I know I went through those statistics very quickly. We can go back to any one of them, any one of those slides, and ask any questions. It's up to you. You can open this up for open discussion. And what I would like to do is I think that the best thing for us to do is this. I have taken the liberty of putting challenges on this slide. But I'd like to know, are there any others? What is missing from this list as challenges that are impacting the number of students that we serve, and also the administration of our districts? Right now, we only have 4 buckets. We can add buckets. Eventually, I think what we will end up doing is most likely we'll be combining the buckets, because it's obvious when you look at all of these, funding is at the center of it. But what else is it? What is missing? And how do we identify other areas? And we go back to the beginning, identify, and then we will prioritize our efforts and figure out the direction that we need to go to change this alarming statistic that we showed, where the number of districts are increasing, or the number of backlogs that are increasing.
So I do want to open this up to discussion. As I look at the challenges from where I sit, and this is Devin Tanner. I'm the driver ed coordinator for Wake County. I know Connie Sessoms. I don't know if Connie's on this meeting or not. He and I have about similar size, districts, and with the number of students. I see everything I see on this list here is, apply. Not everything applies to me, but everything that it does apply to me is on this list. I did have one question, Carl, about under educational materials facilities. What kind of issues are we having around the state with facilities?
Well, you obviously serve charter and private school kids and homeschool kids.
Yeah.
I know that you have a process for doing that. There are a lot of districts. Well, there's no standardization on how this is done.
Yeah.
In some instances, students that do not attend your PSU, they may come from the private schools or the charter schools, or I know it, as I was talking about Melissa a few minutes ago, I think she is federal school students. So how do we need to serve all of the students, but where? So those are challenges. Those are challenges.
Okay. And then
Thank-
my last, I'll ask one more question. This is for Ebony. How is this affecting? Have you? I know that you were going to do a like a social media blitz in the Greensboro area. Did that come to fruition? And how did parents respond to that?
We did, although I'm in the Greensboro area, we did do it statewide. So that did go out
Great.
in our state newsletter. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
That did go out in our NCPTA state newsletter. And I've had parents come to me locally and asking about these things. But we didn't get a whole lot of feedback or as much as we expected on the state level. So it's going to go out again in the
Okay.
next newsletter.
Is there access for someone who's not a member to access the newsletter online?
Yes, I believe so. I think you can subscribe on the NCPTA website, but I'll double
Okay.
check that and get back with you to make sure.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And at this point, if there's anybody that is looking at this list or any of those slides previous that have any questions or comments or even recommendations, I'd like to go ahead and open up the floor to any comments now.
Hey, Deb, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Carl. Hey, this is Hargrove down in Cumberland County, driver education.
Hey, Morris.
Recommend. How you doing? I don't
Good.
see the DEC calls for printing and distributing the eligibility, the new certificates.
That's true. That would be under administration. Carl, I'll let you go ahead and speak on this. I know that there was a kind of I don't know if this is a permanent solution or not, but I'll let you talk about that.
Well, it's a permanent solution, but it can be obviously changed because we changed it. The process of DPI providing these began with in 1997 when this program came into when it was initiated. Being that the administrative funds were reduced significantly in the budget bill of 2023, it eliminated our ability to print those and mail them out. So the statute allowed DPI funding, the statute allowed driver ed funding to be used to supply those. And so the only solution is to kick that out shift those to the local districts. So we provided you with a PDF, and anyone that has access to that by the superintendent can make copies of that and fill out and send it in, or give it to the parent, or give it to the student.
Did that PDF get sent out to superintendents?
Yes, every PSU superintendent receives an email from that to be able to print that out. Also, I don't know if Dr. Gill is on here from charter schools, but I believe they gave access to all the charter schools, as well as Mr. Dixon, who's with non-public education, who supplies those to the home schools and private schools. I will say that in Mr. Dixon, who's the director over there, it has increased costs of his office and labor to get these out, or actually, I guess by at least having to print them. He was already having to have someone in his office to print those, to fill those out and send them out. So this is, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was gonna ask a
Go
question.
ahead.
So I think you was telling me that it isn't required to have a school seal, right? Well, or can
Driver license and DPI discussed this and made a decision that because it was the seal was not a, was the homeschool students do not have, or homeschool did not have seals, and that a lot of them were coming there that did not have them. So they decided that it was not required.
Carl, do you mind if I jump in for just a second?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Yeah. So some of the issue that we've, you know, the extra cost we can deal with, because as a division, we don't do a lot of paperwork anyway, a lot of paper, printed paper. So, you know, I think in doing the PDF is fine. We in the past on the others were embossing it with the DOA DNPE seal, which it was always a bit uncomfortable with me because that seal states that, yes, this child is academically eligible. We don't know. And I'm not real comfortable with doing anything that states, yes, we support this DEC, because homeschools are not required to report to us anything. So we kind of like the idea that the seal is not required anymore. But we've been receiving phone calls to our office from other folks who said the local DMV office is not accepting my DEC because it doesn't have your seal on it. And my fear is we're just now getting ready to move fully to the PDF form this week. As a matter of fact, she's got some mailing out today that we're not going to put our stamp on or seal on it. My fear is how many phone calls am I going to receive in the next 2 weeks from parents who said DMV didn't accept our DEC. You got to send me a stamped one. I mean, that's just trying to be proactive and trying to avoid any of this issue. So I just need clarification.
Okay, I will get with DMV. There's 2 chief examiners there. I'll get with them and ensure that training has started to make sure that that we're on the same page.
Thank you. So
Carl,
you and I can have a conversation offline because we've done some things in our office, and you and I will talk.
Okay.
Can I ask a question real quick, Carl?
Yeah.
Okay, it's Kelly from Scotland County. Just a quick question. My predecessor had boxes of the duplicates, and am I allowed to continue using those? Now, keep in mind, it's years worth of duplicate driver's eligibility, or should I just discard them and go to the PDF? How long, what's my time limit before the DMV is going to say we're not going to accept the small one anymore?
We decided that you could use the balance of what you have and then switch over.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. What other challenges are impacting the number of kids that we serve? What else is it? We know that everything is centered around funding, but what else? What do we not have on this list?
Carl, quick question going back to the DEC. We've had a change over in our superintendent. When was that email sent out about that they would have received the PDF roughly?
It was it's been about 3 weeks ago, I think now. Do you need us to resend it to your superintendent?
Please, because right now we have an interim that took over September 17th.
Okay.
And trying to wait to see what's going to happen with that.
Okay. Can you send me an email to that so I won't forget it? Sorry.
I'll be glad to. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. Interesting thing about the driver eligibility. Driver eligibility really is not part of driver education. The only connection it has is the fact that you can use driver ed funds to print the certificates. That's the only connection. And that it needs to supply that or to present that document when they apply for their learner's permit. But as you see it, in many cases, in many districts, the driver education administrator this may fall under their purview. In many districts, it does not. Other questions, concerns, the direction of the program, continue to move forward? Somebody was about to say something.
Yeah, this is Devin Tanner again. Well, obviously the direction of the program isn't where I'd like to see it. You showed the numbers of districts that are serving under 70% of their students, or not serving 70% of their students, which is very alarming to me. And I don't see how we don't come under the microscope or stay under the microscope or get out of our backlog situation without being able to certify new instructors. And I don't see, without a going back to the language of the previous legislation that allowed you to have 2% of the driver ed funds to fund these things, including the STEP program. I'm afraid of where this is going to lead us in the next year or two. If this is a constant problem and people, legislators especially, are continuing to get phone calls, they're going to make a rash decision eventually when they figure out that we can't sustain the program as it is because we don't have the number of teachers we need.
Was there someone else?
No, that was me. Sorry. Go ahead.
Being you've mentioned that, one of the questions on the survey was that, I'm paraphrasing on this particular slide, is it, do you support restoring the language that allowed DPI, driver education administrative funds? Of the 63 respondents representing 108 districts, there were 4 respondents that did not support restoring those funds. So overwhelmingly, the districts support adding or getting those funds restored to reestablish the STEP program. The last I saw was about 93% of the districts support getting the language restored to allow this to get restarted.
Okay, and so if this body were to recommend to the DEAC that, hey, we are in agreement that we want that funding restored, what are our next steps as a DEAC? I mean, we can always make a recommendation, but then I don't know necessarily what your process is after that.
As everyone knows, there's an election next Tuesday. There will be a lot of changes in our agency. Some have already started. We are not real sure of the pathways. We just do know that we are in need of having this done. By the time our advisory committee rolls around at the end of November 21st, we should have a better picture on how things are going to move forward. But the interesting thing about this is that it was overwhelmingly receptive to the districts, by the districts, to restore the funding. A little bit more history about that is that when that funding was taken away, basically it was $465,000 that was returned to the districts. When you divide that by 115, it was a little over $4,000 per district. A suggestion by the General Assembly, and I heard at the recent State Association, the North Carolina Driver and Traffic Safety Education Association, board of directors meeting, it was suggested that districts pay a participation fee for training teachers or for certifying teachers. I know that we have talked with some people on this call about how much it costs to the commercial schools, how much it costs for them to certify a teacher. And the cost was significant. In some of those districts, they would have the funds because of the size of the districts. The concern, my first concern is the number of districts that are below, that get less than $100,000, which is about 50% of our districts, receive less than $100,000. There are about 30 districts that get less than $50,000. Those districts, unfortunately, the playing field is not level for them, and it would cost them significantly. The percentage is a lot more to them than it is for someone. I know that I saw Mr. Sessoms on here, who and you, Devin, who may receive approaching $3 million. Some of those districts are less than 50,000. $1,000 to $1,500 to train a teacher is a significant amount of money out of their budgets. But the thing about it is if those districts continue to fail or to continue to fall below the bar of being able to supply or provide services to their kids, something has to be done. And as a conversation that Ms. Baker and I had regarding the number of rural counties in this state, it's over 50% of our counties do not have a commercial driving school in it at the moment. So where will these students get driver education? And a lot of these students are in more need of having a driver license than someone in a metropolitan area. Those are some of the concerns. Other questions, comments? What's left, what's off this list that we do not have? What are some of the other concerns? If I'm helping this along some, these 4 buckets, we could probably combine administration, educational materials, and the miscellaneous. We could put those in one bucket, but the teacher recruitment, professional development, retention, salary, wages, training, all that is a major issue. And it's causing, in my opinion, it's causing most of the backlog. We just don't have enough teachers. And that is increasing. And DMV, they're not, in defense of them, it's not their responsibility to train driver education teachers. They train or they certify school bus drivers. They do provide some support in training certifying teachers. They don't have the personnel for it. They don't have the number of personnel to handle this. So what are our other options? Another option mentioned by the state association was that this could be done at the community colleges. Well, the same problem exists at the community colleges. Who is going to pay the fee for tuition, the amount of time that it's going to take for the teachers to go through that? There's no viable solution or I don't see a sustainable solution at the community colleges. I could be wrong. I don't think so. Unless someone could provide me with more information. And please be reminded, I tell people I know a lot about driver education, traffic safety education, but I don't know everything. But I do know you all who, with all the people that are in this, we should be able to come up with some solutions to provide legislators
Mr. Logan,
Yes.
it's Thomas Young. How are you?
How you doing there?
What would be the expectation or the qualifications to take driver's ed coordinators and make them eligible to be able to teach future instructors? Is that a possibility?
Well,
Where we could
actually,
just train our own staff?
yeah, actually, that was in the process through the STEP program. It was one of the phases that was going to be down the road. There are a few people on this call now that are that have gone through the program who became mentors. Those mentors were able to finish the certification process at the local schools because they would observe the teacher in the classroom and behind the wheel. As far as the foundations part of the STEP program, it required teachers at a different certification to be able to go through and do that. And we were in the process of expanding those. I wanted to have one per area from DPI that would be able to host classes. But for you to, I don't know how many teachers you might need right now, but to be cost effective, you need to have a pretty good sized classroom, just like DMV. DMV requires 20 teachers to be enrolled in the classroom to make it cost effective for them. So the reason that the STEP program was born in the first place was because that we could level the playing field, and we could make it consistent training and take that responsibility off of the local boards of education of training their teachers. But the district coordinators were already in the process, and we were looking to how we could increase the number of teachers that we had. We had 2 cohorts per year with 3 groups of 25. So that was 75 teachers per cohort. But we were going to add the summer cohort, which would increase another 75 teachers. So that was more than enough to keep up with the demand and sustainable over time. But the coordinators were already part of the process. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So again, if we're looking at condensing these buckets, administrative to teachers are to me, the teachers are the most important and most difficult to obtain right now. And like I said, both of these, administration and teachers, funding is at the core. But what we do with the funding is what's important. In the last column, miscellaneous, I think there's reversions. No, did I move reversions? Reversions in the miscellaneous column. Last year, we had $1.5 million reverted. If we had a allowance that those reverted funds could roll into DPI, and then DPI would use them for things that you've mentioned here today, such as the teacher education program, and also support and supplying the DECs and other administrative things such as that is a possible solution, basically rolling it back to where it was before. And there would not have to be this idea or this illusion that I'm losing money because DPI is supporting a staff there, which I heard was one of the complaints, that DPI was using money that we could be using to pay our teachers. Well, really, there should be 2 different pots of money. Is there any discussion on that? Is that a problem, that DPI was assisting the districts and using funds, you may not want to answer that. But trust me, I don't hold grudges against anyone. I understand that the districts needed additional monies. They really did.
Hey, Carl,
Yes.
I know we all are busy. I don't want to by any means put more work on anybody. I was thinking about some solutions to, getting the STEP program back. Because we had the same situation here. In Cumberland County, we got 12 teachers, 12 instructors, potentially one of them gets certified. But the problem is that the classes don't have enough seats, DMV classes. I know they're doing all they can do. I'm having some to drive down to Wilmington, drive to, like an hour and a half, 2 hours away to get certified. So my question would be, I'm just throwing it out there, getting something from each coordinator, like a statement, typed up statement that you can present to whoever, decision makers. Would that help, or what do you think about that?
Well, a good idea. And what I've done is the statistics that I've gotten from this survey should do this. 111 districts support the idea of restoring those funds.
Okay. Because I know the STEP program, with me being a new coordinator 2 years ago, Mr. Getty and Mr. Rickman retired. The STEP program was a boost of, it was an infusion. It really helped the program, being I was new. So I was able to get some new instructors quick. Within about 6 months. We had about 10 new instructors plus the STEP program.
Right.
The STEP program, I'd have been in pretty bad shape.
Right. Right. I misstate that. It's 108 districts support the idea of restoring the language.
Yeah.
Or the DPI administrative funds. So what else is it? What is there anything else that's missing from this list of things that we've got to consider?
Hey, Carl, this is Sherry Vernelson.
Yes, Sherry.
I just wanted to go back to the community college conversation because as you were kind of talking about options, and I'm sitting here in my office going community college, and then you said, and what about community college? And so my question is, well, let me back up. So certainly restoring language would be helpful, but I think having an alternate option to put on the table too. So my question is as I'm new to this committee, have there been any conversations with community college about the possibility and what they, sorry about the noise in the background there, and what they might be able to support or help with, as from their point of view, just, in terms of, is there a reduced cost or, anything like that. Have there been any conversations to know it could potentially be a solution?
Yes, before the STEP program, several years before that, and kind of before my time as well in 2015, there had been some conversations. I don't know the results of those other than the fact that it did not get off the ground. I have to pick on you, Mr. Sessoms. Do you remember any conversations surrounding the community colleges? Or does anyone else remember any conversations around that?
What I remember, and I would be challenged to name a person and a meeting date, but what I'm remembering right now is that the community college didn't want any part of it. That would to get a program like ours up and running would cost a bunch of money, which they did not have. And so they said, thank you, but no. That's what I remember.
And me as well. That's all I remember.
With the STEP program developed, would that not be a barrier anymore? Like the STEP program could be utilized by them. They wouldn't have to create anything. I don't know. I'm just thinking, and I don't even know if there's new leadership at community colleges from the time that it was, initially discussed. But it just a thought.
So when we say community colleges, are we saying one community college or are we saying several community colleges?
I mean, I don't know.
All of them.
I mean, I guess originally I was thinking, the system, but if you could even get one,
Yeah.
to get on board and as a pilot or something like that to see, and then maybe others would want to join in some of these areas, some of the more rural areas, where it's a little bit more difficult. So just a thought.
One of the or several of the challenges that Mr. Hargrove just mentioned is that when you have a program such as this, it had always been taught in a traditional format, face to face, and DMV just recently allowed the virtual classroom part of this, and then they would do certain parts of it in a traditional format, obviously behind the wheel training and things like that. So since that conversation, it is possible that you would move our program to a community college, but then the costs again are a problem, and they could teach it virtually. The costs again are a problem. The tuition and parameters, the processes of taking a course at a community college. Now, I know that a lot of districts or a lot of people do not like the amount of time that our STEP program took. It was a 17-week course. But it was mixed synchronous and asynchronous instruction. So that doesn't, in some instances, it provides a location, but then who incurs the costs and how much will that cost be? I know that Mr. Sessoms and Devin, I know the cost of Jordan Driving School's program is somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 per teacher for them to teach, for them to train. So what does that look like for other districts? What does it look like for them? Do they pay for the teachers? Does the teacher have some responsibility of paying a certain amount of money? If we do require the teacher to pay a certain amount of money, that becomes a recruitment issue. A lot of the teachers that we have probably would not pay for that kind of a certification for a job that they're only going to make, I'd say, $18 to $30 per hour. But it's not off the table, Sherry.
Carl, hello, this is Lindsay Jones from Union County.
Hi, Ms. Jones.
How are you? I just want to say, something else we need to consider is how quickly we can get instructors certified. We have lost 5 instructors since July 1st, and I've hired 1. And at the rate, we really need to look at what we can do as quick as possible, because it really is affecting our production, how many instructors we have able to teach behind the wheel. So to me, I think we've gotten 12 instructors certified through the STEP program. It was a wonderful program. And if there's any possible way to bring it back as quickly as possible, that would be great. And I've talked to other counties, and just like Haywood said, we're in a situation where we really need instructors, and there's we cannot get them certified fast enough right now. I have a list of 10, 12 people that would like to become driver's ed certified, but they have not been able to get, become certified. So anyway, I just wanted to say, it's quickly, I think we need to look at what we could do quickly, and how many instructors we could do. I believe the classes were, would you say 75 teachers, you got an instructor per semester, and that would be great if we did reinstate the money and reinstate the program.
Yes. The part about needing instructors quickly and expediting this process, unfortunately, that's another challenge that's not even listed on this list that I just mentioned, is the fact that there are, if our program was or if the administrative funds were reinstated today, it would be close to the first of the year before the class started. It would be June before the first cohort would end, and that they would be at the local level, still needing to go through the completion process of behind the wheel and teaching the classroom. So like you mentioned, we have this hourglass that's continuing to run, and we don't have any solutions. And we will reach a point where I don't know if we can recover. Something I didn't mention a few minutes ago was that in 2015, when the budget stalled and the lack of a better term, and that the program shut down for 4 months, it took some of our districts years to recover from that. Some of them were still at the end of recovery when COVID hit. Now COVID has hit. We have a lot of districts that fell into that category. And then now we've lost a teacher ed program, whereas it threw all the requirement to DMV or those 5 commercial schools that can certify their own people. I don't know, and that's what we're trying to figure out. What is a quick solution, and what are some of the issues? What kind of quick solutions do we have, or can we come up with, to get teachers in the classrooms? Because the alternative is, you're not going to like to hear this, is that there are online schools waiting to get in North Carolina. There is no way to provide oversight for those districts without increasing the costs at DMV or DPI. I went through this when I was in Georgia, working with another company. The cost of that, or the personnel costs, exceeded what we're using, what we have right now of providing oversight for those online companies. There's no national organization that oversees or provides oversight for those companies. There is one commercial driving school in this state that has partnered with one of those companies already, and they've got their foot in the door. A solution by the legislature would be to allow them to continue doing this. This is not good for the program. That would not be good for the program. Those commercial driving schools, as you know, they're dmv.org, dmv.edu, or whatever those acronyms are. Those programs are not approved for classroom driver education. They do not meet the standards for North Carolina. But the legislature could change the standards and reduce those to allow those type of schools. That's what we were running from. And now we can't run.
Carl,
Yes.
I have one really quick question. This is Marcia Kelly.
Yes.
And maybe I'm just too new to the group to know the answer to this question. But what was the purpose for them defunding such an important program, and why is it taken? I mean, it just seems like we're going round and round about something that the legislature could remedy if they were 100% knowledgeable about the need and the importance of this program.
That's a good question, Marcia. And the short answer is I don't know why they did it exactly. I have received some additional information. I have received communications from the legislature who asked for facts surrounding the program, and it looked like they were writing a technical correction about a year ago to fix this, and then that went away. But we've not had a voice over there. I don't know why they did it.
Carl, quick question if you can hear me.
Go ahead.
As far as I know, it might not be good. You said I heard that Jordan Driving School or some other schools can, for a high dollar, train teachers. Can you share that information, even so we could just prepare for a worst case scenario on who besides DMV, since we lost the STEP program, can actually get people properly trained? Because I'm unaware of anything other than those two.
I think there's Benson Driving School, North Carolina Driving School, Mountain Professionals Driving School, Jordan Driving School for the Carolinas, and then there's Jordan Driving School.
And what do I have to ask them that they have? Like, do they have to show me a certain certificate that I know they're able to train instructors, or
they're certified by DMV, and DPI knows that.
So they're certified by DMV to train instructors. Okay.
Right.
Carl, can I break in real quick?
Go ahead.
This is Devin Tanner. And I can't speak for so with Charlotte and Raleigh area, I'm not going to speak for Jordan Driving School, but I will say that they have used their certification from DMV to teach the 80-hour DMV course. But they've used it to for. I mean, this is going to sound bad. I don't mean it in a bad way, but for their own means, they invest in themselves by doing that training, and then they can hire who they feel would be good candidates to Jordan Driving School. But then, if they decide not to hire someone or multiple people from that class, that person still has a certification. They can go to another driving school to try and get a job. But I don't know that Jordan Driving School or any of those other schools, those driving schools that teach it, I don't know that it's an open, like an open invitation for, for anyone around the state to come and do it. That makes sense?
Yeah. Devin, that makes sense to me. I just want to be prepared for worst case scenario if I need to send 2 or 3 out, because I'm already right. June, all of us are probably going to lose some folks to retirement like we do every year. So my people let me know early kind of what they're doing. So I know I'm trying to prepare for that, and because summer we need to get a lot of driving done in our district for sure. So that's just where we're at.
Yeah, I hear you.
Hey, Carl, this is Brian Terrell with WNC Driving School. I know sometimes through a service provider partner, we might look at things a little bit different. But on our end, on the western part of North Carolina here, what I'm hearing is the biggest issue is how are we going to get these teachers certified? Everybody, that's what we're trying to figure out here. And I think we're to the point, if we don't do something, like the other lady said, quickly, we're going to lose a program. So, I think that even focusing on trying to put together a program that may, you know, if I had somebody right now that wanted to get certified and we needed them ASAP, they're going to go through the DMV. If the DMV offers something close by. I mean, we cover the very western part of North Carolina. In Murphy, North Carolina, I had an instructor just a couple weeks ago, drove all the way to, I think it's Rockmount, I don't even know where it's at, somewhere in Raleigh, to take a driver's ed class, probably 6.5, 7 hours. He drove there and he stayed 2 weeks in a motel room, but now he's certified. That's unacceptable. I mean, on his part, I'm glad he did because now I'm picking up an employee. I had another lady that's in one of my schools that we have contracts with. She tried to go through the STEP program. She's got 5 kids. It didn't take her long to figure out she didn't have the time. So from my end, I have to say that the DMV option is by far the best option because it's a 2-week course. I think that could be fixed at a better option for people. And I say that because he went through a week of classroom work, which is great. It's a good deal. And then he went back for the second week, which was behind the wheel training. He brought his certificate to me. I just got it from Wendy House this week. Now, guess what I got to do? I got to get in the car with that guy. He's 50 something years old. He's wanting to work now. I now got to get in the car and train him how WNC Driving School wants to train him. Because at the end of the day, he's my responsibility when he gets in the car with that student. So I can't just say, oh, you got a certificate? Here you go. Here's you some students. Let me know when you need more. I've got to get in the car and train him. So I guess my point is why can't DPI or whoever do a program like the DMV? I personally think that if you could do a virtual class for the first week, like you said that they've offered, and then the second week, why can't I train that guy? I got to anyway. I mean, they're going through the Miller road test. They're doing stuff. And you know what? I think at the end of the day, and this guy told me this, and he said, you know what? I learned a lot in that class, and I'm glad I went through it. But you know what? I've been driving for 40 years. It ain't like I'm trying to build an airplane or something. I know how to do this stuff. So I don't know if that ruffles feathers anywhere. I'm just telling you from my standpoint that I'm looking at it and saying, if we don't get some instructors, everybody's going to be looking for a job. And that's just the way I look at it. And that's just the bottom line. So where are we going from it? I don't know. Why does it take 9 weeks, 17 weeks to get a certification to be able to teach driver's ed? And I'm just hearing that from the lady that went for me. She wanted to add on her teaching certificate, but she's going through that for a couple hour a week part-time job. I mean, I know that some teachers or some instructors have already reached out and said, great program. And it is. I'm not saying it's not. It is. But let me tell you, if a teacher starts today and they don't start until the end of summer, we may not have a program with them. That's just my thought. At some of these other driving schools that you mentioned that are training their own instructors, like the gentleman said, they are training them to be employees for them. I don't think anybody is going to say, hey, come in here, let me train you how to do this. And knowing that I'm not going to hire you, but you may be right down the street bidding against my contracts next week. That's just business reality. It is. That's people in-house may not look at it like that. So that may not mean that much to anybody, but that's where I see it, that we better get our head out of the hole and do something about it, or we're all going to be looking for jobs. I'm sorry. That's my piece. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. You make a lot of good points there. With my experience, and I'm sure some other folks would say the same thing. Everything that you mentioned in there is a very important part of this whole process. And everything that's going on right now is what we're trying to find out is the best direction to move forward. And whatever it is, it needs to be very quickly. I will tell you that DPI does not have the authority to create a program that you mentioned. DMV has a program that they provide already, and then they also allow commercial driving schools the certification process to where they can teach their own people. Again, the problem is that over half of our districts do not have a commercial driving school in their county, let alone a commercial driving school that can train their own teacher. So,
Carl, would it be an option for you in the position you're in to meet with that DMV and make it more accessible? I mean, for my guy to drive 6.5 hours, I mean, he could have went to one in Morganton, and I'm thankful he was the last person to get into that class before it was full, or he would have had to wait until March to get certified.
yeah,
I had an instructor that left that area that you got to understand there's 4 high schools in that district that would have had no instructors. I
yeah.
mean, some of these places have got 8 or 10 instructors in the area. I don't. I've got one driver's ed instructor, full-time employee, that if he wouldn't have got into that class, those schools would have went at least 5 months without anybody teaching driver's ed there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that the DMV is on the right track. I think that there can be some tweaks about it, and for DPI to maybe get on board, and you may not be able to offer that, but if it's $1,500 a person, my guy paid $250. He had to stay in a motel room, but he had to do all that. If one was offered 30 minutes up the road, I could have 10 instructors there tomorrow,
Well,
but it's not.
so let me explain to you about the $350 that DMV charges. That only provide a small offset of the cost. They are actually using their personnel, which the personnel costs are not included in that. They're actually donating that. And I'm kind of speaking for them, but again, DMV their responsibility is not to train or license driver education teachers. This is just something that they were doing as a courtesy on the side for many, many years. Now it's become the only source, or one of the only sources for training teachers. So for the sake of time, and I thank you, Brian, and your arguments are very, very needed. And please know that DPI does not look at districts who contract or even contractors or in-house as the only method of providing driver education. Both are needed. In some instances, one is a better solution for the other, but we look at them all as the same. I know that some folks may not understand that, but we look at it as a local board of education providing the program, and the local boards of education can use in-house administrative solutions, or they can use a partner in that, which you are. So it's 10 after. It sounds like this conversation can go on. We do have a lot to provide for the DEAC. Devin, sorry for me overstepping my bounds here. But
No,
we do have a lot of information that we can share with the DEAC on the 21st. It sounds like that we need to have some other sessions, and we'll offer those. Being that this is a separate committee, I guess we could go ahead and if there's significant interest in doing that, which it sounds like it is, that we could schedule those. I just don't know if we have time to get them in between now and the end of the month. However, as Ms. Jones put it, we are running out of time. And as Brian just mentioned, we are running out of time. What do we do? How do we move this forward? DPI no longer has a staff to do this. We do not have the authority to create another program. The program that we had went through a tremendous vetting process through a legislatively appointed body and through the State Board of Education to get the certification. Because of the standards and the State Board of Education goals, that was a rigorous process. And because this first is an educational program, it is not a tutorial to get your driver license. It had to meet those standards.
Okay.
So as we move forward, stay tuned for other meetings, but we need to, as we stated before, as we're waiting on the election to see what happens there, I would highly recommend that you all of you all that are not committee members, is to get involved in your state association, who is also been discussing this. I know that there are several members, board members, that are on the line now. Ms. Jones, Mr. Morris Hargrove, and I don't see anybody else, but there are a number of people that are involved in that.
Yeah, I am, and so is Mike Jones.
That's right. I'm sorry. Yeah. So anyway, I know that there's some meetings coming up here soon. Some regional meetings. Ms. Jones in the South Piedmont area, and then there's Morris Hargrove with the Southeast area, are going to be having a meeting in their area to discuss these same issues, most likely. At any rate, I thank you all for tuning in here and going over time.
Carl, can I interject when you're done real quick?
Go ahead.
Okay. First off, there was a question Ebony Baker had asked. So there was a report on the news here in the local Raleigh area on WRAL. I don't know how many months, it was after the last TEAC meeting. And they reported that there were rumblings coming from the General Assembly about exploring why we don't have the funding needed. And that was reported on the news. The news has not followed up on that story. But I will tell you also that the state association, as you referenced it, we do have a legislative liaison, and we have as a board, the board of directors has instructed her to go ahead and start lobbying for the language to be restored from the previous law, which is the 2%. She has not been able to get a chance to do that because when the legislature came back into town, they started dealing with the hurricane stuff, and rightfully so. But they were just they weren't hearing anything else other than the funding, the emergency funding for that. So I will let you know that the association has discussed it. We've put our legislative liaison on alert to go ahead and lobby for this. My recommendation to this body, and I don't think we need a vote. I think, unless there's somebody that is, or people that, have disagreement, we could discuss it probably at the DEAC meeting or before that. But my recommendation is to move forward in recommending the entire body of the DEAC to come up with a proposal for the state school board, recommending that language be, or that they support that language being restored. And so, Ebony, I hope that answers your question about, what happened with that news story. Anyway, go ahead, Carl.
All right. So, well, Devin, I'll give it back to you to adjourn the meeting, and then we will follow up with a. I see that Mr. Mace is concurs with what you just said. You can adjourn the meeting. We'll make a report to the DEAC. All of you are invited to tune in there. And again, that is a legislatively required body, the DEAC, and that the process is to make recommendations through the state superintendent to the State Board of Education. However, there may be some, based on what happens in the election, there may be some changes. We don't know the process. At any rate, we are in a situation where we need to do something very quickly, as Mr. Terrell put it, that we need to do something very quickly because we need teachers now. And as I showed you before, the statistics shows that the numbers are increasing of the number of districts that are falling farther and farther behind.
Yeah.
Mr. Logan,
Yes.
this is Hargrove. Is anybody here, you in the southeast region? I put my email in the chat. If you want to email me, I'll send you the link. That meeting is November 4th, 6:30, be virtual. Just email me and I'll send you the link in the southeast region. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hargrove.
Okay, Mr. Logan, seeing as that we are over time, I want to thank everybody for attending and for taking your time once again. Please feel free to reach out to Mr. Logan, myself, and certainly collaborate amongst each other before the DEAC meeting if you have, if you have any discussion points you'd like to. So at this point, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. Thanks again for coming, and hope you guys are all safe.
Thanks, Devin. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.